Law number 8, the law of intuition. Wow. Of all the laws for me to teach, this one probably is the most difficult, but I love giving it a shot. The law of intuition says that leaders evaluate everything with a leadership bias. So let me see if I can teach this well, okay? By the way, the reason it's the hardest to teach is because the law of intuition of the 21 laws, the law of intuition favors the most the natural gifted leader. Let me explain it this way. All of us in this room are intuitive in one degree or another, in one area or another. Now let me show you how this intuitiveness works. You are intuitive in the area of your spiritual giftedness. So therefore, if you have the gift of mercy, you're intuitive about people that are hurting. You'll just sense it. You'll pick up and say, oh my goodness, I think they're hurting. And you'll run over and you'll minister to them. Isn't that right? Because you have the gift of mercy. You're intuitive in the area of your giftedness. You know, I don't have the gift of mercy at all in my life. So, I mean, I can go around hurting people and not have a clue. You know what I mean? Somebody say, well, you just killed him. Killed who? Killed who? So I'm not intuitive in that area because that's not a strong gift of mine. Does this make sense? If you're intuitive in the area of teaching, you sense when people are learning and when they're not learning. If you're intuitive in the gift of hospitality, you sense if people are relational and warm and with they're not. And if you're gifted in the area of leadership, then you're intuitive in leadership. That's why this law favors the naturally gifted person. The law of intuition says that leaders look at things through a leadership bias or through leadership eyes. In other words, they read people and read situations through the eyes of a leader. And the best way I think that I can explain that for you to really help us to get started on this law of intuition and really develop it the way that we should is that statement, I think I have it in your notes, that says, who you are determines what you see. Now, that makes sense to me. Does that make sense to you? And so therefore, if you're a leader, you see things as a leader. If you're a follower, you don't see things as a leader, you see things as a follower. When I walked out here, I don't know, a few hours ago to do this leadership conference, when I walked over here, the first thing I did, because I hadn't been in this room, I just flew in this morning and I hadn't really been out here yet. The first thing I did when I walked up here and started teaching you, the first thing I did is I viewed everything from a communication teaching perspective, because I'm going to spend a couple of days teaching you. So I looked at the lights and I looked how the stage is, and I saw that I had good easy access out to where you are. And from a communicator standpoint, I viewed everything from that perspective. Now, when you came here, you didn't view everything from a communicator's perspective. You viewed everything from a student's perspective. You want to know what your notebook was, and then you want to know where a good seat was. I mean, I doubt very seriously if any of you came up here and said, I think this is the best seat in the house. You see, who you are determines what you see. So you were looking for pews. I was looking for a stage and lights. I was looking for something entirely different than you were looking. So we saw two different things, and yet we're in the same building. Well, let me explain it this way. One of my spiritual gifts and one of my natural gifts is communication. I love to communicate, and I do it well. Okay. Fairly well. My wife, every once in a while, is asked to speak to some group because maybe I'm going to be there, and they'll say, well, if you're going to be there, would you speak to this group? And my wife, although she's a teacher by profession, and that's what she has done and has a degree in it, she's not a communicator. Now, I don't mean this wrong, but she's not a communicator. I hear a lot of people that are teaching that are not communicators. I hear a lot of preachers preaching that are not communicators. I mean, I want to walk up and tell them, but anyway. So what she'll do is she'll say she'll do this. And then as soon as she says yes, I hate it because she's going to come to me and she's going to say, okay, John, help me out. I hate this. What do I say? What do you mean, what do you say? Well, I got to go speak to these people. What am I going to tell them? Margaret, I mean, you want me to write the speech out? Would you please? I hate that. Or she'll say, I'll say, Margaret, I'm not going to do that. Then she says, okay. Just tell me how to get started. What do I say at the very beginning? And I tell her, she hates my advice. I say, oh, honey, that's no problem. I said, just go to the people wherever you're going to speak and just get a feel of the crowd. Just hang around, listen to them, get a feel of what's happening. And I said, it'll just come to you what you ought to say. And you'll just get a feel and you'll sense it. And you'll get up and you'll just kind of play off what they just said and they'll just love it and you'll just take off and you'll go. She hates that advice. Why? She's not a communicator. To me, it's good advice. It's very natural. It's what I do. It's my gift. Now let me turn that around. My wife is very good with color. She's very good with style. She's a better decorator of a home than most professional decorators. Now you got to get the picture. So she understands colors. She understands the mix. I'm worthless in this area. I've been known to go into my clothes closet and stand for 15 minutes in a comatose state, drooling, trying to figure out what to wear. Of which she'll say, John, you having a problem figuring out what you got to wear today? Yeah, Margaret. Oh, just a second, honey, I'll help you. She comes in, she comes in and in 5 seconds, she'll pull off a sweater. She'll say, what are you going to do? Kind of casual? Yeah. She'll pull off a sweater, she'll slacks and a shirt, and she'll throw it. She says, that'll look real good. Now, she's gone. In 5 seconds, she's done this. And I'm standing in the middle of the closet, amazed. So I put it on, and I do it, and I go wear it, and I come home that night, and I don't tell her I do this. But I take this outfit, and I put it all on the same hanger. So that, this works, folks. So that about 10 days later, I walk in the closet, I know exactly what to wear because she put this together for me. And I put it on, and I'm so excited. I walk out of the closet knowing that she's going to applaud and say, oh, John, you look so good. And she'll look at me and she'll say, are you going to wear that again? She said, last week you wore that, John. She said, change the combinations. You don't have to be boring. She said, change the sweater. This looks good with this. And she goes in and messes up my whole mind. Oh, I love it. I love it when I get up early and she didn't help me pick out my clothes the night before. Oh, this is classic. And so I go out and I'll do my thing and I'll come home maybe mid-morning and I'll walk in the house and she'll look at me. And her first question, now this question amazes me. She looks at me and she says, did you wear that? I guess I did. I mean, what does she think I'm going to say? No, this is a mirage? Of course I wore this, Margaret. And then as soon as I say that, she'll look at me, she'll say, who saw you? Now, why is it easy for her to go in the closet and figure out what I should wear? And why is it hard for me? It's very simple. Because that's what her gift is. That's what she's good at. You see, the law of intuition says that where your gift is, that's where you're intuitive. And leaders have intuitive leadership gifts. Let me explain it this way. Recently, we did a 15-city book tour in 5 days. And I had a couple of my staff with me. Charlie happened to be one of them. And Thomas Nelson, our publisher, was so kind to give us a private jet to get to these 15 cities in 5 days because we do a breakfast in Tampa, and we do a lunch in Orlando, and we do an evening deal up in Washington, D.C., and we just moved all the way across the United States, 3 cities every day. And in fact, we just finished Washington, D.C., and we're getting ready to fly to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for the next morning. And our pilot said, John, there's a couple of guys stranded and they'd like to have a ride. They need to go to New York City. If it's okay with you, I'm going to do that. I'll take you to Harrisburg, let you off, and then I'll go to New York City. And so I asked the pilot, I said, well, who are they? Who's stranded? And he said, one of the guys is Isaiah Thomas. Now, Isaiah Thomas is a great basketball player. And I love basketball. So I said, well, of course he can ride on our plane. What would a neighbor do? Of course he can ride on a plane. And I kicked Charlie and a couple of my team off the plane, so we had room for him. I didn't either. I didn't do that. And Isaiah Thomas got on the plane. Now, I want to talk to him about basketball. I mean, I have a whole bunch of basketball questions to ask him. And I guess the pilot told him about my leadership. And so he sits down. He said, John, he said, the pilot tells me you're a good leader. He said, let me ask you a question. And so he started asking me questions. I thought, oh, man, I'm going to talk to him about what I know. And I don't want to talk to him about leadership. I want to talk to him about basketball. So I thought, I'll answer it quickly. I'll answer these questions quickly as I can. He said, John, what's the difference between a leader and a manager? And I said, well, there are 27 differences, really. But I said, let me give you a major difference. One of the major differences is, you see, a leader assumes things will change, and a manager assumes things will stay the same. Huge difference. So I taught him in leadership as quickly as I could, and then I said, now talk to me about basketball. And I asked him about Bobby Knight, as Indiana University, where he went, his coach. And I said, talk to me about Bobby Knight. And he said, let me tell you something about Bobby Knight. He said, he taught us. He said, we didn't have set plays. We didn't go down the court and say, play number 4. He said, he taught us to read the defense and respond. In other words, take what they give you. If they're overplaying you to the left, he said, make the play go to the right. If they're sloughing off, shoot the ball. If they're playing you tight, pick and roll. He said, he taught us to read and respond. He said, the only time, he said, I ever saw Bobby Knight get angry is when a player didn't read and respond. And when he started talking to him about the fact that they were to read and respond, I thought, that is exactly the description of a leader, and that is exactly the description of the law of intuition. Here's the way this works. Leaders are readers. They read and they respond. That's why they're leaders. They look at the situation over and they intuitively know what to do. When we were moving out to San Diego, we got a washer and a dryer, and Margaret and I went down to this store to get this washer, and Margaret said, they say this is the finest washer. Consumer Reports said this is the one to buy, and the lady said yes. And I asked the lady, I said, why is this the washer to buy? I mean, come on, talk to me. And the sales lady looked at me and said, well, she said, this washer has a fuzzy chip in it. Now, I'm not technical, so I'm thinking of a potato chip that's got some lint in it. I'm saying, well, reach in and pull it out. And so when she talks about a fuzzy chip, she starts talking about the fact that this chip inside this washer has the ability to read what you do to it. In other words, she said, for example, if you put a half a load in, the washer will only give you a half a load of water. It'll only give you half the detergent. In other words, it reads what you do and it responds. And all of a sudden, I got my pen out, I got my legal pad out, and I'm saying, whoa, this will work. I got all of a sudden interested in fuzzy chips. Here, this washer can read and respond. I thought, wow, that's what I try to teach leaders how to do. I thought, man, where could I buy those fuzzy chips? Man, I'll have them out at my table. Say, you eat one of these suckers. It'll help. Yeah. Stick this down on the inside of you. Learn how to read and respond. Huh? Let me show you what leaders read and sense real well intuitively. Number 1, people. They can read people very well. Number 2 is opportunities. Number 3 is the environment. They sense what is happening. They feel it. Number 4 is timing. They really do a good job understanding that window of opportunity, and they know the timing and they go in and out. Number 5 is motives. They can read the motives of people. Number 6, the future. They have a sense of what's going to happen. Many times they put their people in the right place so when it does happen, they're prepared. Number 7, they understand and read well the process. They understand what comes first, what comes next. They kind of know the 1, 2, 3, the strategic type of leadership, the law of navigation that we've already talked about. And number 7, and here's what they read real well, the placement of people. They know where to put the right people at the right place at the right time. They are good at placing people to give them success. Let me illustrate one more story, this wonderful law of intuition, because it really describes probably best what it is. When we were leaving San Diego, we decided the last New Year's day that we were there to to go up to Pasadena one more time to see the Rose Bowl parade. Probably every about 3 or 4 years, we would go up and see the parade. It was a lot of fun. So we told our family, we told our friends, and so some of them flew out to join us. And so we literally picked them up in vans at the airport, and we took off up towards Pasadena, of which we stopped about halfway to a restaurant to have lunch. We stopped right at noon, and I can still remember pulling the van into the parking lot, saying to myself, we've got to get everybody out of this van very quickly, and we've got to get inside of the restaurant because they wouldn't take reservations, and it's just first come, first serve, so we can get tables. So here I am, the leader. I'm the leader. I'm pulling into this parking lot saying, okay, I got to get everybody out of here as quick as I can. And so I kind of jump out of the van, assuming that everybody is going to follow. Now get the picture. They haven't seen each other, some of them for 6 to 8 months. So they're getting out of the parking lot. Instead of following me into the restaurant, they're out there hugging one another, and how have you been, and it's good to see you, and let's kiss the babies, and you know what, oh, the pictures, let's see the picture, oh my, and I'm standing there kind of frustrated because all of these people in this parking lot don't have a clue that we got to get inside the restaurant, get a table, because tables are going fast. They just want to sit out in the parking lot, hold hands, slobber a little bit, and kumbaya. And I made a couple of feeble attempts to say, you know, we probably need to go in the right. They're ignoring me. They're not paying any attention to me. So finally I said to myself, oh, true leader. Well, somebody has got to go get the tables. So I'm now leaving them in the parking lot. And I'm going into the restaurant as quick as I can. And I look up about 20 feet ahead. There, my son Joel, he's already at the door. And he's really disgusted. He says, Dad, he said, look at them. He says, they're out there in the parking lot. He said, they're talking. He said, we need to be getting tables. He said, they're just going to talk all day. Look at them. I said, I know, Joel, it's disgusting, isn't it? I said, let's you and I go in and save tables. So Joel and I, you know, we go in there, and you know how you do. You go in there, and you got to have several tables. So you put your foot on one, your hand over here, here like this, you know. You're kind of hanging on to these tables for dear life as long as you possibly can. Of which 15 minutes later, here they come. And we're hanging on to these tables, holding on to them. And they just kind of, Margaret says, John, get your foot off the table. And they kind of straightened, and they said, you know, they said, not once did they say thank you. Not once did they say, we are so thankful you thought ahead and got this table for us. They just sat down like those tables were going to be there for them. And that like this was a natural state for us to be in. In fact, I've always laughed about that day because the law of intuition kind of tells you things are going to unfold or things are going to happen, and you know that, and you, as a leader, you kind of get ready for them, prepare, and you notice those followers, they never have a clue. They're kind of like Mr. Magoo going through life, you know what I mean? They just kind of stumble through life, and so they get there. But what I thought that day is, as they set the table, I said, not one of those people thanked Joel or me for saving this table. And I thought, that's the way it is with a leader, isn't it, huh? Followers don't have a clue. They just sit down and order the food. The law of intuition, though, here's what's powerful about this law. It helps you to see ahead. It helps you to anticipate. You know that you do not have this law under your belt when you are continually blindsided. If you're the kind of a person that you're always being surprised, you say, oh my goodness, look what just happened. How did that happen? If you are blindsided, you don't have the law of intuition. The law of intuition is a wonderful, wonderful law to learn. Because what happens is you can begin to anticipate, and people that have the law of intuition, they keep their organizations out of problems and trouble a lot more than people who lack it, because they just sensed it was going to happen. Okay. The proverb writer said, a leader of good judgment gives stability. An exploiting leader leaves a trail of waste. 4 questions. Question 1, do I continually get blindsided by people and events around me? Question number 2, do others think ahead better than I do? If so, who are they? Oh, this is good. You better kind of list the people that are kind of thinking ahead, because they probably have maybe more of the law of intuition working for them. And number 4, and I think this is key, do I rely on others to help me with their intuitiveness? Do I allow others to come alongside of me and help me? And then you evaluate yourself from a 1 to a 10. Now, I'm going to take a moment, because the resources that I have listed in this section, because this is the hardest of all to teach, the resources I have in this section are very helpful. I did an Enjoy Life Club recently entitled How Leaders Think. If you want to learn the law of intuition, you've got to learn to think like a leader, which will then begin to give you the perspective of a leader. The hardest tape that I've ever done in the Enjoy Life Club is that one called Insights into Intuition. It took me a long time to work on that one, because I had to go inside and say, how do I know and how do I feel these leadership things? And then another one that I did just really recently called Thinking Your Way to the Top. Again, if you think like a leader thinks, you'll begin to see like a leader sees, and the law of intuition will come to be yours. Okay.